There's some of these guys that get these head coaching jobs who don't really, succeed in them. Doesn't mean that they're not great defensive coaches.
Dennis Allen just doesn't sound like a great idea to me. I just think doesn't inspire a lot.
There is a interesting story out here. Let's see here. Share
What,
the screen.
developing, breaking, Larry, something?
Coach Yak's Twitter says ESPN's Nick Wagner on the 49er defensive coordinator search. He says, while Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich are considered top candidates, another name worth keeping a close eye on is former Saints coach Dennis Allen. Allen has extensive experience working 8 years as a defensive coordinator in Denver and New Orleans, almost 6 seasons as a head coach with the Saints and Raiders, and another year with the Saints as senior defensive assistant. So throw another name into the mix there. If they don't get Saleh, who's interviewing with Jacksonville and somebody else this week, Raiders. I think Tuesday and Wednesday, something like that, or Wednesday and Thursday, Saleh will interview for Jacksonville and the Raiders. But if they don't get Saleh, they may go Dennis Allen. They may go Jeff Ulbrich. I'm okay with any of these guys, to be completely honest. They need a proven defensive coordinator. These guys have all been, for at least a short amount of time, head coaches and have a lot more experience than Nick Sorensen. So I think it's an upgrade.
Dennis Allen just doesn't sound like a great idea to me. Even when he was just
a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, great. I just think doesn't inspire a lot. That to me feels uninspired. But okay, whatever. It's I'll just cover the team no matter what they do. I'm not going to try to speak what I want into the only truth of existence. I'm going to cover what happens, not what I want to happen. But I don't want Dennis Allen based on just all the backdoor chatter that I've heard about just him and his coach and just how he's kind of just an awkward dude. Nah.
I like him. I like him. I mean, you got to remember this. I mean, there's some of these guys that get these head coaching jobs who don't really, succeed in them. Doesn't mean that they're not great defensive coaches. I mean, Spags was a failed head coach, and he's a really good defensive coordinator. Ray Rhodes was a failed head coach, but he was a great defensive coordinator. Richie Pettibone was a failed head coach. He was a great defensive coordinator. Dave Wannstedt was a failed head coach. He was a really good defensive coordinator. Dave Campo, Butch Davis. There's a bunch of guys
Ryan.
that I can think of.
Buddy Ryan, right?
Buddy Ryan was a much better defensive coordinator. So there are a bunch of guys like this. It seems like on the defensive side as well. I mean, Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio was a bad head coach in Denver, and yet they got the number one defense in Philadelphia with
the Raiders,
many of the same guys that Sean Desai had last year, and they were a circus.
I heard that the Raiders have put in a request to talk to Vic Fangio about their head coaching opening. By the way, some of these NFL teams and their head coaching searches are like comically $2,000. Like the Chicago Bears have literally interviewed every single coach in America for their head coaching opening. It's embarrassing. It's there's a difference between kicking a lot of cans and doing your due diligence, and there's also spraying it everywhere because you don't know what you're aiming at. And I think that there's an awful lot of teams, the Bears, the Raiders, who are the Jets, who are constantly unaware of what they should even be aiming at. So they think that a volume of interviews is supposed to be impressive in some way. It's not. To me, it shows how it doesn't show how much you're considering everything on the table as much as it is you don't even really know how to consider what you're considering.
I mean, the Raiders are so lost. They just fired Tom Telesco. Telesco, I think, is one of the good young GMs in the game, and they just fired him after.
He just drafted the best rookie tight end that the NFL's ever seen in a year where it didn't make a lot of sense to make that pick, but they made it anyway. Again, the Raiders don't know what they're doing, ever. And to let Antonio Pierce go the minute after he did his postseason press conference or whatever that is, and then to say we're keeping Tom Telesco, and then 48 hours after that, Telesco's gone too. I mean, it's the emptiest white what's amazing, and I really don't like to make fun of the way anybody looks. I really don't. Not even Mark Davis. But the fact that he cannot settle on a singular decision about his football team, who should be running it, who should be coaching it, who should be quarterbacking it, but he just looks at that haircut and thinks, no notes. It's just nothing to improve. I'm going to rock this haircut for 45 years. The fact that the only idea he's ever been married to is that haircut just shows you what you're dealing with. It really does. Sometimes you got to use the data points that are coming back to you, whether you want to use them or not. And I just look at, okay, so the guy who can't make up his mind on anything has made up his mind on that? Okay, that's the Raiders. That's Mark Davis.
All you got to know about Mark Davis is when the dad was alive, did the dad in any way promote the son?
Oh,
No.
He didn't groom him at all. There was never a succession plan of Mark Davis taking over for Al.
Did Al celebrate the son and put him in incredible roles with the franchise? No. I mean, it all, he went to this role after Al, left the planet and lost all control. I mean, it's like, no, if he really, something tells me, because it wasn't like Mark Davis is just got out of college. Mark Davis has been an adult for many, many of the years that Al Davis was still alive running the team. Well, where was Mark's killer, unbelievable role back then? He didn't have any role. He was just the loser son of a rich guy. So, it's just, the fact that he's now takes his bad haircut and he's like, hey, I'm the guy. It's like, you know what? You weren't, how sad is that? It's like, you're the guy, but your dad, when he was alive, you were nowhere close to being anything. And now you're the guy. It's kind of shows that his dad knew his son was an absolute loser.
Matt Mayoko this weekend said that the 49ers had completed an interview with Lions assistant special teams coach Jet Modkins for the team's vacant special teams coordinator position. Modkins currently works under Dave Phipp, who's considered one of the best in the business. Sure, go ahead. Does that mean that there is no seat for Nick Sorensen in a game of musical chairs if you're going to keep Sorensen? I don't really care. I'm not married to Nick Sorensen one way or the other. If he came back in an assistant role somehow, some way, sure, whatever. But there's going to be new eyes on this team, and there needs to be. So yeah, give me the new eyes of a young special teams coordinator. It sounds good to me. I won't pretend that I know Jet Modkins' reputation beyond the report that has been shared by Matt Mayoko. Thanks for watching. Tune into the Damon Bruce Show live on YouTube every weekday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific.